Sunny skies turn gray with high wind threats. How long this weather maker will impact our region, and the roller coaster temperatures set to follow this week. A teen is dead after a Towson shooting. New today, our team questions if recent crimes are becoming a trend in the county. Then the controversy continues over the governor's pick to lead the juvenile justice system. Plus, this shopping center is set to go from murder scene to revitalization. Our team asks how the city plans to make sure the funding is spent properly.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
Fox 45 News is tracking a weather maker live right now. Take a look at this time lapse over Baltimore County this afternoon. I mean, it looked really strange out there. This is when brief showers moved in around 2 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Lots of high wind as well. The weather will be taking us on a roller coaster, so buckle up this week. In fact, our region could threaten to break record warmth set 149 years ago.
Just kind of crazy. Let's begin with Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers and the forecast.
Yeah, and right now, just up the pike in Trenton, New Jersey, they're under tornado warnings from that line that came through here. So really kind of dodging the bullet, although we did have a severe thunderstorm warning that did come into effect for Baltimore County, Baltimore City area as that line rolled on through, and even reported officially a thunderstorm for an hour over the airport. Now, again, there's that tornado warning that I was alluding to up here. There it is right around Monmouth County, New Jersey. Now, here in Baltimore, again, we're looking a lot better than we did about an hour or two ago. We do have wind advisories that continue in effect into this afternoon and this evening. So we put things in motion. You can actually see the rain, the thunderstorms moving eastbound. There's even some snow on the northern edge of this. Thankfully, that's not going to be ours, especially if you don't want winter weather. But notice the winds now coming up. This is why we have wind advisories up to about 40 miles an hour in gusts, and we could make it up to about 50 briefly, but then things do come down. This is our future scan wind gusts by 6:45 p.m., about 25 to 30 miles an hour as this front moves on through and moves on out. And actually, by about midnight, things really do calm down. Oh, look at tomorrow. High temperatures only in the 40s to near 50. But as we mentioned, we could be threatening a nearly 150-year-old record, and that could come by Thursday. I'm going to let you know how warm it gets in a couple of minutes.
Jonathan, thank you. You can track this roller coaster weather with the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Just go to your app store and search WBFF to get started.
The county's under pressure. A 17-year-old boy is dead after a shooting last night in the heart of Towson.
We had it as breaking news at 10. This follows a string of violence in the area in recent weeks.
Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live from Towson with a closer look at what happened and how residents and the county leadership is responding. Maxine?
Well, Kai and Mary, that shooting happened, as you mentioned, last night. We're right here along Delaware Avenue, just around the corner from the Towson Circle, and it follows several violent acts right here in this area in just the past few weeks. It has residents very much on edge, asking where the crime is coming from and what's being done to stop it.
In the heart of Towson Tuesday, no signs of violence or a young life lost. But last night, here along Delaware Avenue, police say 17-year-old Trayshawn Harmon was killed, shot multiple times. Video from the Citizen app shows the ambulance on the scene. Brian Lopez says his neighbor heard 5 shots.
Once the shots happened, apparently there was an individual that walked over to the victim and looked at that victim and then walked away.
Last Sunday, another shooting near the Towson Circle left one man injured. Hours later, police say a victim was stabbed multiple times along Chesapeake Avenue. And at the beginning of February, 3 victims were raped at gunpoint. Again, just steps from the Towson Circle.
It's becoming a very unsafe place to live, and this is not what we expected living in Towson.
On the WBALC4 and Brian Neiman show this morning.
The heart of Towson, where there was another shooting last night.
Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski was asked about the recent crime and residents' concerns that their quiet community is being infiltrated despite more police on the streets.
We've increased our presence. Again, we've also outfitted a lot of the community with cameras, so we have eyes in the Towson corridor pretty much everywhere at this point. Unfortunately, police cannot be everywhere at all times.
Pastor James McEachin says he believes much of the violence in the area can be traced back to Baltimore City.
Bring the aggression from city life to living into the county.
We sent the following questions to Olszewski's office asking, we know the suspect arrested for the recent rapes had a Baltimore City address and stolen gun from the city. Do you think any of the other recent crime is coming from Baltimore City? And would you support hiring private security in downtown Towson to protect businesses and residents? Residents like Lopez, who are now questioning the safety of their daily routines.
Even to take a walk outside with your dog becomes sort of a life or death situation that you don't expect living in Towson, but it's the realities of our world now.
Well, police have yet to arrest a suspect in this case. If you have any information, you're urged to call the Baltimore County Police or Metro Crime Stoppers. Reporting live in Towson, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Maxine. Right now, the Baltimore County Police Department is under the leadership of Interim Police Chief Dennis Delp. Former Police Chief Melissa Hyatt left the department at the end of her contract in December. The police union last May said they had lost confidence in her leadership as the county saw a rise in crime. Well, today, County Executive Johnny Olszewski said interviews are happening and they hope to have a chief in place in the next month or so.
I've been really encouraged by the caliber and the number of people who have applied for this agency who want to help lead Baltimore County's police department into the future. And, we are dedicated to finding someone who is committed to, both safe communities, but also equitably policing. And I think they don't have to be at odds with each other.
Republican delegate for Baltimore County, Nino Manchione, reacting on Twitter. He's blaming the crime that we're seeing in Towson on, quote, woke culture and liberal politicians imposing bad policy on our communities, his words. He says he supports mandatory sentences for violent criminals with no exceptions. We'd like to hear from you. Do you feel safe in Towson? So far, 90% of those who voted say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab to weigh in.
In Annapolis today, senators voted on Governor Wes Moore's pick to lead the Department of Juvenile Services. Some Republican senators are pushing back on Moore's selection, who has a history of advocating for lesser sentences for young offenders.
These kids don't just need a hug. They need to be held accountable.
Vincent Schiraldi got the green light from the Senate today, cementing his place in the governor's cabinet. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live. And Mackenzie, Schiraldi is moving forward, but not without some debate.
Yeah, Mary, that's right. We know that Schiraldi faced some opposition and some concern during that first committee hearing and then again today on the floor during the full Senate vote. His vote for the confirmation was set for Friday, but it was delayed until today. And we heard the Republicans voice their concern and opposition to this member of the governor's cabinet. We've heard some of the arguments before. They say that given Schiraldi's history and past statements about the possibility of not giving some young offenders a criminal record up to the age of 21 or 25 in some instances, is not the right approach. Republicans say that appointing this person could make the juvenile crime problem even worse. But ultimately, Schiraldi moving forward, given the fact that Democrats control the House and the Senate, and they have the large majorities in both chambers. It was interesting, though, to hear from Senator Will Smith. He chairs the powerful Judicial Proceedings Committee in the Senate, and he did say that he supports this nomination, but he did offer some cautious optimism, saying that he believes that all of the juvenile reform plans that lawmakers are working on in Annapolis right now hinge on the success of the juvenile justice system moving forward.
Now, I'm supporting this nominee, but I do have words of caution for this department and for this nominee. A lot of our reforms and the success of those reforms and the continued reforms that we're looking at even this session are contingent on the successful operation of this department. And this department is not functioning the way it should.
We need more balance in our system. There has to be accountability, and there has to be some sticks to go with the carrots. And that's not happening right now. And my fear is that this is throwing gas on the fire.
Now, I did get a statement from Governor Wes Moore's office. They tell me that they stand by Schiraldi and they believe that he is the right person moving forward. Let me read you part of this statement. They say that they believe Schiraldi will work in partnership with police, educators, child welfare, and mental health professionals to improve public safety and outcomes for youth, not only in Baltimore, but throughout Maryland. Now, this vote today does mean that Schiraldi becomes so far the only member of Governor Moore's cabinet to receive not unanimous support throughout this entire confirmation process. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. We have more coverage from Annapolis straight ahead. At 4:30, the fight to save funding for an educational program that low-income families say has been a lifeline for them. And then the latest on a bill that would have given young people more say on vaccinations. The alleged financial connection between the lawmaker behind the push and a vaccine manufacturer.
The city of Baltimore is moving forward with plans to commit $9 million for the revitalization of the long-troubled Edmondson Village Shopping Center. It's the shopping center where 5 students were shot last month. One of them was killed. Well, residents have also complained about open-air drug activity in that area. In fact, our own cameras have captured some of that happening. So how will city leaders ensure this money brings change? Alexa Ashwell, Question Leader. She's live right now with the full story. Alexa?
Kai, right now the sale of Edmondson Village Shopping Center is pending, and the private future owner has released some renderings of what it will look like in the future. Some city leaders believe contributing to this project is critical for the area. On North Avenue, the long-standing Edmondson Village Shopping Center has become a staple in the community, and not without its share of problems. The recent mass shooting that claimed the life of a 16-year-old high school student, open-air drug deals, fires, and empty storefronts, leading to collective calls for change.
My name is Lanier Richardson. I'm the CEO of Chicago Trend.
Real estate investment group Chicago Trend is poised to purchase the troubled property for more than $17 million. The CEO crowdfunding the project, and on this website providing rough renderings of the future Edmondson Village Shopping Center. The plans including the construction of a grocery store.
You know, we've had a lot of violence in the Edmondson Village community, not only this year, but in years past. And, you know, there's been just long-term disinvestment along the corridor. And so I think it's a huge deal.
Baltimore City Councilman Christopher Burnett, one of 6 members of the Ways and Means Committee to approve $9 million for the project. When questioned, Burnett saying the money can only be used to fund capital projects. How will you ensure this $9 million will be well spent?
Well, I mean, we have, you know, there's audits, there's oversight that the finance department is in charge of, and so we make sure we're working with them to ensure it's, you know, that they're fiscally responsible with the city dollars and, you know, taxpayers' money.
Millions of dollars for a plaza plagued with problems and a community desperate for change. Now, according to the developer's website, this should go through, this sale, by April. As for the $9 million the city is set to put up on behalf of the city, it will now go to City Council for a full vote of approval. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, Mayor Scott today announced millions of dollars toward improving the Enoch Pratt Free Library. $11 million from the American Rescue Plan Fund will go towards renovations at libraries, improving community access to critical technology and Wi-Fi. Enoch Pratt leaders say those funds will be used to help bridge the digital equity gap in Baltimore.
Fox 45 News continues to demand transparency in the controversial conduit deal between the city and BGE.
Do you believe the mayor was acting in the best interest for the city with this deal?
I'm not sure. That's why we wanted to have time to really vet the plan, to understand and know what the consultant provided us back, understanding what the findings, the recommendations were moving forward. To date, we have not seen that. I think that if you read the contract, it clearly says that BG&E has full control of the conduit system. So it's just ownership in name from a city perspective, and really pushes us one step closer to selling the network, which is problematic.
Coming up in the next hour, the latest on the deal that's left Baltimore city leaders on separate pages.
A judge has sealed the fate of A. Scott Bolden, the former lead attorney for Marilyn Mosby. He was facing criminal contempt for comments he made while representing the former city state's attorney. According to the Baltimore Sun, Bolden was admonished in court today, but he was not found in criminal contempt. Last month, all 6 attorneys for the former city state's attorney stepped down. Marilyn Mosby is expected to stand trial on 4 federal charges this summer.
President Biden overseas and asking the rest of the world to support Ukraine. But the biggest headline may come from more controversial moves by Russian President Vladimir Putin. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington to explain.
I can't believe anybody would oppose this opportunity. I can't believe it.
Governor Moore wants to reduce funding for a school program that some low-income families say have changed their lives. Our Project Baltimore team with the Fight to Save boost.
I'm Morgan Atzett live in Owings Mills, where the Ravens just introduced offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Does he plan on having Lamar Jackson run his offense in 2023? That's coming up next.
And 60s, rain, thunderstorms, a wild weather day so far. Temperatures falling to the colder 30s tonight, but we could have record highs near 80. Yes, in February. I'll let you know when. Coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
The Baltimore Ravens have a new offensive coordinator.
Morgan Atzett is live in Owings Mills with today's big announcement. Morgan?
Yeah, guys, the Ravens formally introduced new offensive coordinator Todd Monken. John Harbaugh did the honor today for the 7th OC that he's hired. He didn't take any questions. It was all Monken running the podium today when being introduced. He comes from Georgia, where he is a back-to-back national champion and led the nation in the best offense in college football last season for yards and scoring. Monken was one of 21 candidates to interview for this Ravens OC gig and one of 14 to get down to the serious final rounds. The Ravens citing Monken's strength of of a balanced offense, one he builds around the talent on his roster as to reasons why he got the gig. And Monken says he chose to leave Georgia for the Ravens because he wanted to be back in the NFL going against the best. He was OC before at Tampa Bay and Cleveland, and he also did not want to come to the Ravens to coach an offense for any particular player on the roster, just the organization's roster from top to bottom.
I want to be someplace where structure, organization, great on defense from top to bottom, and everywhere I talked to and everybody I talked to, said you want to be a Baltimore Raven. You want to be a part of that organization moving forward.
Monken getting a healthy dose of questioning included in that. Will this new Ravens offense under him have Lamar Jackson at starting quarterback? Monken avoided most questions about Jackson's contract status with the Ravens, but he did add Jackson is an elite passer, talent, and also said he is underrated as a throwing quarterback in the NFL. Monken added he has had no contact with Lamar Jackson or any player on the Ravens' current roster. He did say if Jackson doesn't show up until midsummer, he will be behind, but said, quote, "It's just football. We will cater to what he knows." Now, the franchise tag window has officially opened today. The Ravens can use that. They have 2 weeks to tag Jackson if they cannot reach that long-term extension before then. Reporting in Owings Mills, I'm Morgan Atzett for Sports Unlimited.
Latest weather maker coming through, and now after some rain, even some thunderstorms, wind advisories in effect until 7 p.m. That's for the entire area minus the eastern shore. That means winds could be as high as about 50 miles an hour at times. Thus far, it hasn't been that windy yet, but we have had some gusts up to about 40 now at the airport. Take a look at the western side of this weather maker. Blizzard warnings, winter storm warnings. So, yep, that's where winter is. It's in the northwestern and actually even southwestern portion of the country. Take a look at those winter storm warnings all the way down west of Los Angeles into the high elevations of Southern California. So around here, it is the warmth. Temperatures in the 60s this afternoon. The rain putting a little dent in that. Now the breeze is picking up out of the west, up to 28 miles an hour sustained here in Baltimore, up to about 20 north and east of Baltimore. We've had some gusts now up to 40 over at the airport. 24-mile-an-hour wind gusts over at Annapolis. Then the next big story is the near or potential record-tying or maybe even record-breaking warmth. Thursday's high temperature, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a chill down. But by Thursday, we're back up again into the mid to upper 70s. This is a ridiculous weather pattern all over the place. February 23rd, 1874, nearly 150 years ago, we had a high of 78 degrees. And if we can make 80, we've only hit 80 from what I could see. Only one other time, it was on February 25th during the month of February. So, yeah, it's going to probably be the earliest in the year that we would have hit 80 if we do it. So 61 right now, winds out of the west at 28 miles an hour, humidity 35%. So that is dropping down in the wake of that latest line of showers. So I think most of the showers and rumbles are gone at this point. Temperatures in the 50s to around 60. So we've recovered a little bit after the rain. Look at this big split. Temperatures warmer than 24 hours ago down to our south, much cooler to our north, and we're becoming a part of that. So that milder air that we've been seeing, that cold front's going to take care of that. It turns colder for tomorrow, but not for long. Take a look overnight. By about 9, 10 o'clock, this stuff's out of here, and we turn chilly. Temperatures in the 30s by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, a totally different day. Lots of clouds. Look at that on and off rain after the morning commute and all the way through lunchtime into the early afternoon. And then look at this. Temperatures go nowhere Wednesday night into Thursday. And by Thursday afternoon at lunchtime, we're already at 70 degrees here in Baltimore on our way up. I'm forecasting a record high for Thursday, 78. We'll go with 51 on Friday. So that's when cooler air zonks back in. Then we're at 41 on Saturday. If you wouldn't believe it, a system going to our south and east could bring us a rain or snow shower. 56 on Sunday. Could see a stray shower Monday. And then into Tuesday and next week, we're back up to about 55. So again, a real bona fide temperature roller coaster ride coming our way.
Jonathan, thank you. 2 deadly fires in Carroll County. What we know about a body found in Westminster after a fire at a hotel. A fight in Annapolis right now to prevent Governor Moore from cutting funding to a program serving low-income families. The latest on the effort to save Boost. But first, dueling speeches today from President Biden and Russia's president. How tensions continue to escalate as we head toward the 1-year mark of Russia's war in Ukraine. President Biden is imploring the rest of the world to back Ukraine in its war against Russia. He gave an impassioned speech while visiting Poland today. Yet it may be something Russia's president said that's making the most news. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman has more.
Relations between the United States and Russia continue to degrade at an alarming rate. That as both leaders gave dueling speeches Tuesday on the war in Ukraine. But it was Vladimir Putin, Russia's president, who chose to take the opportunity to make other major global news as he suspended Russia's participation in what is called the New START Treaty. That is essentially the agreement between the U.S. and Russia to limit the number of long-range nuclear weapons. Putin also saying he'll no longer allow American weapons inspectors to come visit Russian sites to confirm it's adhering to that treaty. All of this, by the way, as both men were speaking about the one-year mark of the war in Ukraine, President Biden in Poland Tuesday insisting America will not scale back its support in a war that right now has no end in sight.
1 year into this war, Putin no longer doubts the strength of our coalition, but he still doubts our conviction. He doubts our staying power. But there should be no doubt. Our support for Ukraine will not waver. NATO will not be divided, and we will not tire.
And then there was Putin's take on the war, claiming that it's America and its allies who are the ones responsible for this protracted fight.
They're responsible for the escalation of the situation in Ukraine, for the huge numbers of casualties.
Back to Russia suspending that nuclear arms treaty. The U.S. State Department called it unfortunate and irresponsible, suggesting it's one thing if it's a proclamation or a soundbite for attention, but if Russia continues with more nuclear saber rattling, that is something to be taken very seriously. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
A recall alert for baby formula, the reason why. A Maryland lawmaker temporarily withdraws a controversial bill to give kids more power over their own vaccine decisions. Coming up, what we've learned about the potential conflict of interest. 23 Baltimore City schools with 0 students proficient in math. Why Governor Moore wants to reduce funding for an educational program that some low-income families say they need. A Maryland lawmaker has temporarily withdrawn a controversial bill.
That bill by Senator Cheryl Kagan would allow minors to get vaccines without their parents' permission. Well, she now claims the bill needs more medical research, but a closer look into her finances has some questioning her true intentions.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor is live with more on this for us today. Rebecca?
Yeah, guys, after uncovering Senator Kagan's latest financial disclosure statement, I learned that she invests heavily in several major vaccine companies, which is only adding to the controversy of this bill and the backlash of it that many were questioning because it would only allow minors to receive the vaccine, not refuse it.
Blurring the line between the public's best interest and her personal finances, an investigation into Senator Cheryl Kagan's investments, raising ethical concerns over Senate Bill 378. The bill would have lowered the age a Maryland minor can consent to a vaccine without their parents' permission from 18 to 14. However, those under the age of 14 could still receive vaccines on their own with a doctor's approval. The legislation going on to state that while a child can consent to a vaccine despite their parents' objection, a child cannot refuse a vaccine their parent wants them to receive.
So this isn't really about medical freedom. This is about pushing vaccines and really making it easier to get a vaccine rather than not getting the vaccine.
Questioning the reasoning behind the bill, Fox 45 reaching out to Senator Kagan's office 3 times over the last 2 weeks, asking, how can a child have the capacity to consent to the vaccine but not refuse it? And do you not trust parents to make informed decisions for their own children? Her office refusing to respond. Meanwhile, Senator Kagan's latest financial disclosure statement revealing of the 3 companies she owns stock in, 2 of them major vaccine manufacturers.
It's really difficult to ignore this connection between the companies that she has stock in and the vaccines and what she's doing with this legislation.
Taxpayer advocate David Williams calling those investments a conflict of interest. And although the bill has since been withdrawn, Williams says the ethical concerns can't be erased.
This wasn't well thought out. When you are withdrawing your legislation, it shows that there is a problem.
Taking to Twitter, Kagan writing, quote, despite the fact that 17 states have allowed minor access to vaccines, my bill needed more research before it could be enacted in Maryland. However, Kagan pulling back on the legislation just 2 days after Fox 45 ran a story on parental pushback.
I'm against it.
I would not agree to that.
Why wouldn't they trust parents not to make that decision?
Moving forward, Williams says a close eye should be kept on Kagan's future legislative proposals and her pocketbook.
This is way beyond just one piece of legislation. This is something that needs to be monitored very closely because I can almost guarantee you this has happened in the past and it's going to happen in the future.
Now, I also asked Kagan's office this afternoon if she thought introducing this legislation could have been seen as a conflict of interest. Again, I did not hear back. Reporting live in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, Maryland's new state treasurer is pledging to get answers about the state's embattled college trust. Maryland 529 has been under scrutiny for more than a year following an alleged interest calculation error. That error causing the agency to block parents from accessing all of the money in their accounts and ultimately slashing many of their savings by thousands of dollars. Before a joint session of the General Assembly, Treasurer Davis said enough is enough.
I'm not promising to be nice about it, and I'm not promising to be polite about it. We've tried that. We've tried that for 18 months, and it hasn't worked. And now it's time to do what needs to be done. Our parents, and more importantly, our children deserve better, and they're going to get better.
Parents will once again be in Annapolis tomorrow. More on that at 5.
Making headlines right now, a former Baltimore teacher accused of sex abuse and rape will be released from jail as he awaits trial. In court today, a Baltimore County Circuit judge ruled in favor of Chris Benden. Benden was fired early this year from the Gilman School and arrested 3 weeks ago. He's accused of sexually abusing a teen. Benden maintains his innocence. A preliminary hearing is set for next Friday.
In Carroll County, fire investigators are looking into what caused 2 deadly fires just hours apart. On Sunday, firefighters responded to the Boston Inn in Westminster just after 8:30 in the morning. They arrived to the fire that had been put out and found the body of a 48-year-old man inside. Investigators say they believe the fire had occurred several hours before they were notified. The cause of the death is now under investigation. And a few hours after that, a fire broke out at a home in Tawnytown. When firefighters arrived, a mom and her daughter had been able to get out. Their grandmother, though, was still trapped inside. The 68-year-old woman was rescued, but then she later died in the hospital.
A cyclist killed in Baltimore County last night. It happened near Towson and Reisterstown Road at the Baltimore Beltway just after 10 o'clock. The 22-year-old biker, Chaim Cohen, was hit behind by a Dodge Charger, apparently. The driver of that car did stay at the scene until police arrived, but the cause is now under investigation. Be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com and click on Mobile Alert Sign Up under the Station tab.
As recent test scores raise concern over Baltimore City Public Schools, a program that gives families some more school choice is in jeopardy.
As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, the move could impact thousands of low-income students who will no longer have an alternative to their public school.
This is more than just about an education.
Nefertari Lee is a mom from Baltimore City. Earlier this month, she testified in Annapolis about a program called Boost, which she says changed her son's life.
He's gone on to college and is thriving.
Boost is a state program that offers scholarships, similar to vouchers, to students from low-income families, allowing them to attend parochial and other non-public schools. According to state data, since the program was created in 2016, it's awarded about 20,000 scholarships. The average household income of a recipient is about $35,000. Students from the lowest income families are given priority. Last year, the program had about 3,200 recipients, mostly minority students from Baltimore County and Baltimore City.
These kids are our future.
When Lee's son was young, his zoned school in Baltimore City was Johnston Square Elementary, one of the 23 schools where Project Baltimore recently found 0 students among those tested scored proficient in math. Lee says Boost allowed her son to leave that school for private school in Baltimore County, where he thrived.
Bryce was accepted into every single college he applied to.
But now that program appears to be in jeopardy.
I can't believe anybody would oppose this opportunity. I can't believe it.
Lee went to Annapolis to speak in support of legislation introduced by State Delegate Jeff Grist, House Bill 737.
Well, this is an alternative that actually works.
The bill codifies the Boost program, making it permanent by writing it into state law. The move follows what appears to be a national trend towards more school choice.
Republicans are working to end the policy of trapping kids in failing schools and sentencing them to a lifetime of poverty.
This month, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders unveiled a plan that would allow any student to use tax dollars for private and religious schools. And according to the Wall Street Journal, at least 19 states are considering legislation to expand school choice. But Maryland appears to be going in the opposite direction. Grist didn't introduce his bill to expand Boost. He's trying to save it.
We made the largest investment in public education by any governor in our state's history.
During his State of the State address, Governor Wes Moore pushed public education as a top priority. But Moore's budget cuts the Boost program by 20%, from $10 million to $8 million, and could prevent new students from receiving scholarships except for siblings of those already in the program.
I'm a very, very proud Baltimore resident.
Governor Moore has spoken openly about the role education played in his own success. He attended an elite private elementary school and then went on to graduate from a private military academy. But by cutting Boost, Grace says, Moore is limiting opportunities for today's students to seek a better education.
This is a lifeline that we're going to see results now. We don't have to wait 8 or 10 years when the blueprint is implemented. It may or may not work.
Project Baltimore asked Governor Moore's office why his budget cuts Boost by $2 million, We also asked, are you concerned about the impact this will have on thousands of students from low-income families? Is this the first step in phasing out the Boost program? We did not receive answers in time for broadcast.
I also come from a long union family.
Cheryl Boast is the president of Maryland's largest union, the Maryland State Education Association, which has historically opposed programs like Boost. The union says these programs hurt public schools, which lose money when students leave.
Education and the union have kind of gone hand in hand in my family.
We sent an email to Boast and the teachers union, which endorsed Moore for governor, asking for an interview to discuss providing scholarships for students who attend what are considered failing schools. We did not hear back.
The folks that are opposing this bill, they're opposing it for mainly one reason. It has everything to do with money and very little to do with the students themselves who are trapped in a desperate situation.
This Wednesday, the bill to fully restore Boost funding goes before the House Ways and Means Committee. Grist, a Republican, knows it'll face significant opposition from Democrats. But he hopes stories like Lee's, and there are thousands of them, will have an impact.
The $2 million needs to stay in there and get back in there so these programs can still thrive and survive. Don't cancel the future success stories like Bryce.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
There's a new recall alert for baby formula, the brand affected, and the reason why.
Breakthrough technology that could make a huge difference in brain tumors of all types. I'm Liz Bonus. We're going to show you how it works just ahead.
And if you wouldn't believe it, we could be threatening record highs near 80 on Thursday, but by Saturday, potentially some rain and snow showers around. I'll let you know if you're going to see anything accumulating. It's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Breakthrough technology is giving doctors an enhanced view inside the brain. Medical reporter Liz Bonus shares how it could make a difference in brain tumor removal.
Hey there, everybody. This new technology giving surgeons high-tech help inside the operating room with advanced navigation inside the brain.
It could make a difference for those such as Joe Feds.
I would see double vision. I would go like cross-eyed when I looked to my left.
Joe was diagnosed with a benign brain tumor just a few years ago. He had surgery to remove that tumor at Ohio's Mayfield Brain and Spine. But Joe's surgery left a pretty good-sized scar, something this technology, known as the Brain Lab system, could help reduce.
This is kind of like the skin area here, but you can cut through it sequentially to get inside.
It allows for smaller incisions and precise removal results.
Brain Lab is a imaging platform that allows the surgeon to take an MRI scan or a CAT scan of a brain and essentially kind of weld that with the patient's own anatomy.
Here's how it works. Dr. Robert Bohinski's team here at Ohio's Christ Hospital uses a camera like this one inside the operating room. It connects with a reference point on the patient's head.
It's essentially like guided missile technology. It allows one to precisely put something where you want it.
That allows the team to navigate through the brain.
Again, we continue our cutting away of structures until we get just the tumor and the relationships to the skull.
The number of patients that would benefit from this technology is really why we brought it into the hospital.
What's more is that these colored images show pathways, and it tells the surgical team what to remove and what to leave alone.
There are tracks in the brain that when you want to move your hand, your brain has to say, move your hand. And that's kind of like a little highway in the brain, and we need to steer around those things.
Now, this also has some other surgical applications with brain aneurysms and even Parkinson's surgery. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Now back to you.
Fat Tuesday. Mardi Gras celebration is on in New Orleans. Well, elaborately decorated floats line the parade among costume revelers this Fat Tuesday. You're looking at live pictures on the right side of your screen. Mardi Gras is a Christian holiday rooted in pagan spring celebrations dating back thousands of years. It is one day before the beginning of Lent. Mardi Gras is always 47 days before Easter. Jonathan, I know this makes you nostalgic because you used to live in New Orleans, and my late father was born in the state of Louisiana.
Oh, neat. Yeah, I spent several years there working at the CBS affiliate, actually, in New Orleans. And my wife, actually, you saw in the corner there, WVUE, for the affiliate that we're using there. She used to actually work for the Fox affiliate as a meteorologist, which is WVUE. So that's their video there. Very, very cool. Look at that. Actually, a nice day.
And Jonathan, can you imagine the food they're having right now?
Yeah, you know, you could typically gain just a couple of pounds during Mardi Gras season for, you know, several, you know, food and libations.
Even when you cut things out for Lent, you're still going to get good food, right?
Yeah, it looks like everyone's having a blast. Let's go take a look here at the HD radar and around here. It's going to feel maybe like New Orleans temperature-wise in the next couple of days. We could be threatening records. Wind advisories in effect here in Baltimore and the surrounding area. That's going to be through 7 p.m. this evening. A line of rain, even some thunderstorms coming through earlier this afternoon. Then there's the wind, even some snow north and west on the edges of this system, even some blizzard warnings, if you wouldn't believe it. And those winter storm warnings go all the way down into the higher elevations of Southern California. So we are luckily, I suppose, on the warmer side of the country with 60s this afternoon. Winds sustained right now, 28 miles an hour. Here's why the wind advisories are up. Some of those winds 40 to 50 in gusts. Then, after a cooler day tomorrow, it looks like we're back up at it again. Thursday, 78, the forecast high. Yes, the old record from back in the 1870s is 78 degrees. And then look at this temperature roller coaster ride that comes thereafter. Strap in, get ready. 61 degrees. We've got winds out of the west at 28 right now. Humidity at 35%. Looks great with sunshine glinting off the boats on the Toyota East Shooter Harbor Skycam. But again, if you're in small craft, you don't want to be out there in this stuff. Very choppy water. 61 now here in Baltimore, 62 at Annapolis. Temperatures 50s here, 60 pretty much area wide. There's that temperature drop off just to our north, running anywhere between about 5 and 15 degrees colder than 24 hours ago. It's behind this cold front that's going to shove out the mild air for now, but you'll see down to the south and west, there's a warm front once again, and that's what's going to displace this stuff again to give us those near record high temperatures as we head into Thursday, at least for a day. Now, overnight tonight, look, skies clear at least for a time, but clouds then come back in as temperatures drop down into the 30s. How about some cold rain to start on the day Wednesday? Maybe dry for the very first portion of the AM commute, and then the on and off showers through the day. High temperatures only getting into the 40s there, and get a load of this. By Thursday, 78, back down to 51 on Friday. Clears out, rain or maybe even a snow shower from a system glancing to our south on Saturday. Shouldn't be an accumulation issue. Then we're back into the 40s and 50s again. Into the weekend, into next week. Man.
All right, get some water, Jonathan. Coming up at 5 o'clock on Fox 45, millions going toward improving Baltimore's libraries. Where that money is coming from, and hearing from officials saying it will help play a key role in providing critical services. Also, a recall alert for 145,000 cans of infant formula, the products affected, and the reason for the recall. One of the main suppliers of baby formula in the United States, Reckitt, is recalling 2 batches of Enfamil. About 145,000 of the 12-ounce cans of Pro Simply plant-based formula is affected. Now, those products were produced this past summer. That recall is because of possible bacteria contamination. It's the same contamination that was behind Abbott Nutrition's formula recall last year. If you have smart home envy, but feel like you're stuck in the Stone Age with a not-so-smart home, Consumer Reports is here to help. Patrice Sanders has the story.
Saeed Ubas has been using smart bulbs and plugs for a few years.
When I leave home, I can just check my app to know that, okay, all the lights are turned off, I'm not using any energy that I don't need.
Both smart bulbs and plugs can turn any lamp into a smart lamp that you can control from anywhere using an app or a smart speaker like Alexa or Google Assistant. But how do you know if bulbs or plugs are best for your home?
Smart bulbs are a better choice for lamps that have a lampshade because the bulbs themselves are kind of ugly looking. Bulbs are also a great choice for fixtures that can't be plugged in, such as overhead light fixtures. If you want lighting that can change color or even color temperature from warm to cool, then of course you would also want a smart bulb.
After evaluating nearly a dozen smart bulbs, Dan says that these models from TP-Link Casa Smart and Cree are great budget options. If you want to dip more than your toe into the smart home trend, smart plugs offer a lot of options.
With smart plugs, you can automate way more than just lighting. You can use them to control any appliance in your home, whether it's a fan or even a coffee maker. They're also really great for fire safety for devices like space heaters, hair straighteners, or hair dryers. If you forget to turn them off, you can do it remotely from your phone, even when you're not home.
Consumer Reports says this smart plug from GE was one of the easiest to set up and works with both Alexa and Google Assistant. As for Saeed, he's moved well beyond smart bulbs and plugs.
Alexa, movie night.
Some smart plugs even offer energy monitoring, so you can figure out which devices in your home hog the most energy and turn them off when they aren't in use. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, a 17-year-old killed and residents now on edge. The growing concerns in Baltimore County after another violent crime. He's concerned the plan could hurt Baltimore for generations. We talk with the city council president as he pushes back against the mayor's BGE conduit deal.
Alexa, mic check. A website provides rough renderings of the future.
Emotionally and psychologically abusive coach didn't care. Mic check. 1 2 3 1 2 3. Mic check. 1 2 3.
I honestly have no idea where it is. That's all I know. Me? Mic check. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Are those your keys? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. They weren't there earlier.
A 17-year-old shot and killed in Towson. What we're learning about the investigation as a string of violent crime has residents worried.
Millions of dollars to revitalize the troubled shopping center. We track the money being used to try and improve the place that a 16-year-old was shot and killed.
Mayor Scott and City Council President Nick Mosby butting heads over the mayor's conduit deal with BGE. Why Mosby says he's scared the deal could hurt Baltimore residents for generations.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
A 17-year-old boy is dead after a shooting last night in the heart of Towson, and it follows violent incidents happening one after another in recent weeks. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live in Towson with a closer look at what happened and how residents are reacting. Maxine?
Well, Mary, that shooting happened last night right here along Delaware Avenue. Right around the corner is the Towson Circle and several restaurants and businesses as well. Now, police say a 17-year-old boy was killed, shot multiple times. A neighbor says they heard 5 shots and then they saw the suspect standing over the victim after they shot him last Sunday. Another shooting near the Towson Circle left 1 man injured. Hours later, police say a victim was stabbed multiple times and punched in the face along Chesapeake Avenue. And at the beginning of February, 3 victims were raped at gunpoint, again, just steps from the Towson Circle. Residents like Brian Lopez say they are starting to worry.
It's becoming a very unsafe place to live, and this is not what we expected living in Towson. Even to take a walk outside with your dog becomes sort of a life or death situation that you don't expect living in Towson, but it's the realities of our world now.
Now, that victim has been identified as 17-year-old Trayshawn Harmon, but police have yet to arrest a suspect. So if you have any information in this homicide, you should contact Baltimore County Police or Metro Crime Stoppers.
And Maxine, have we heard from County Executive Johnny Olszewski on this latest violence?
So the county executive was on the WBALC4 and Brian Neiman show just this morning and asked about the recent crime and residents' concerns that their quiet community is being infiltrated with a lot of violence right now. Here's what he had to say.
We've increased our presence. Again, we've also outfitted a lot of the community with cameras, so we have eyes in the Towson corridor pretty much everywhere at this point. Unfortunately, police cannot be everywhere at all times.
Now, some worry that a lot of this crime could possibly be spilling over from Baltimore City. It's a question that we have for County Executive Johnny Olszewski, and we do plan to interview him in just about 10 minutes and bring you those answers tonight at 10. Reporting live for now in Towson, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. We'll look for that tonight. At least one member of the state legislature voicing concern over the situation in Baltimore County. Republican Nino Mangione tweeting he believes Baltimore County is experiencing a crime crisis, and statewide there needs to be harsher penalties for violent crime.
Right now, the Baltimore County Police Department is under the leadership of Interim Police Chief Dennis Delp. Former Police Chief Melissa Hyatt left the department at the end of her contract in December. The police union last May said they'd lost confidence in her leadership as the county saw a rise in crime. Well, today, County Executive Johnny Olszewski said interviews are happening and they hope to have a chief in place in the next month or so.
I've been really encouraged by the caliber and the number of people who have applied for this agency who want to help lead Baltimore County's police department into the future. And, we are dedicated to finding someone who is committed to, both safe communities, but also equitably policing. And I think they don't have to be at odds with each other.
We'd like to hear from you. Do you feel Towson is safe? So far, 90% of those who voted say no. You can head to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab to weigh in. After a delayed vote and criticism from Republicans, Vincent Schiraldi has been confirmed in a party-line vote as the new state's Secretary of Juvenile Services. That vote was delayed last week after concerns about Schiraldi's history. He advocated for not giving young people under 21 a criminal record if they commit a crime and are convicted. Many feel that's not the right approach. And today we heard from Republicans that Schiraldi could make the juvenile crime problem worse.
We need more balance in our system. There has to be accountability, and there has to be some sticks to go with the carrots. And that's not happening right now. And my fear is that this is throwing gas on the fire.
Governor Wes Moore released a statement saying that he remains confident in Schiraldi and promises Schiraldi will work in partnership with police, educators, and child welfare and mental health professionals to improve public safety and outcomes for youth, not only in Baltimore, but throughout Maryland.
Baltimore police investigating a shooting early this morning. Just after 3 a.m., a 25-year-old man brought himself to the hospital. Investigators say he had been shot in the leg during a robbery in northeast Baltimore. Anybody with information should contact Baltimore police. This year, 37 people have been killed in the city. 71 have survived shootings. Last year at this time, 51 people had been killed. 94 people had survived shootings.
The city of Baltimore is moving forward with plans to commit $9 million toward the revitalization of the long-troubled Edmondson Village Shopping Center. It's that same shopping center where 5 students were shot last month. One of them, 16-year-old Deontay Dorsey, was killed. Well, residents have also complained about open-air drug activity in that area, which our cameras have captured. So how will city leaders ensure that the new money will bring about both change and transparency? Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell questioned leaders today. She's live with the latest on that project. Alexa?
Well, Kai, right now the sale of the shopping center is pending. Some city leaders believe contributing to this project is critical for the area. The real estate investment group Chicago Trend is poised to purchase the troubled property for more than $17 million. The CEO is crowdfunding the project. A website provides rough renderings of the future shopping center, which includes the construction of a grocery store. Today, 6 members of Baltimore City Council's Ways and Means Committee approved $9 million for the project. Councilman Christopher Burnett calling it critical.
Where you have disinvestment, which we've had a long time in the Edmondson Village Shopping Center, I think crime is to be expected. It's not something that, we haven't been working hard on to try and improve, but I do think that a new facility, new businesses, a new sort of vibrant space, new life into that center, which has been sliding backwards for a long time, will go a long way for safety in the community.
So the $9 million was approved by the committee. It will now have to go to City Council for a full vote for approval.
All right, Alexa, so let's say it is approved. If it's passed by the full council, how will the money be used?
Well, Kai, that is certainly a question that we asked. Councilman Burnett says right now it's a little too soon for those specifics, but added that the money can be only used for capital projects. When questioned, he also said he'll be working closely with the finance department to ensure the money is still being well spent. How will you ensure this $9 million will be well spent?
We have, there's audits, there's oversight that the finance department is in charge of, and so we make sure we're working with them to ensure it's, that they're fiscally responsible with the city dollars and, taxpayers' money.
So according to the developer's website, this sale should go through by April. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
I think this is a clear example of a power grab and overreach by this administration and this mayor.
City Council President Nick Mosby isn't holding back his frustration over the BGE conduit contract. It is a story we've been following closely, and Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost continues demanding answers on it. Mackenzie joins us live. And Mackenzie, you spoke with the council president and the mayor today to get both sides of this. What they both have to say.
Yeah, so we talked to both of these leaders, and we know that City Council President Nick Mosby believes that this contract should not have been approved in the first place. The mayor's not backing down from this, saying he believes the contract was rightfully approved during the BOE meeting, but the council president believes the mayor skirted the rules and says this contract and deal could negatively impact generations to come.
The conduit concerns continue. This time, City Council President Nick Mosby not mincing words.
I don't know one elected official, federal, state, or local, that supports this deal and this agreement, and particularly the way it's happened, with the exception of the mayor.
Mosby says Mayor Brandon Scott kept him and Comptroller Bill Henry in the dark about the contract details.
It's not the first time that there's been a breakdown in communication or lack of respect for the council as it relates to deals like this.
Do you know who drafted the contract in the first place?
I don't know, but that was a question that one of the council members asked at the last hearing. I just don't understand how, if the city wrote it, that serves as the best interest for the city of Baltimore.
Hours after speaking with Mosby, we asked Mayor Scott.
Who drafted the contract?
Well, we can get you all that information.
The mayor's office telling Fox 45 News in writing, quote, lawyers for the city and BGE wrote the conduit contract, along with former city solicitor Jim Shea, who was the chairman of the Venable law firm, which helped BGE's parent company, Exelon, merge with Pepco in 2016. As for the timing of the deal, the mayor says he did everything by the book.
Can you explain the timeline of when exactly did you begin communication with the city council, specifically the council president, about this conduit contract with BGE?
So what I'll say is that this council president got a briefing on this in an appropriate time. As you saw and heard us say the other day, they knew that we would have to enter into an agreement.
We also asked the mayor's office what process was followed when approving the contract, including public input and transparency. The mayor's team telling Fox 45 News this BGE contract has received more public input than most agreements, and the council president and comptroller can receive briefings if they choose.
When was the contract itself presented to you or other members of the council before it was put on the BOE agenda?
We learned about it through the media.
And Mosby says that was just a few weeks before the BOE vote. With the upcoming city council investigative hearing Thursday, Mosby says he expects more answers from the mayor and his administration, including why the city spent $50,000 on a consultant to study the conduit system in the first place.
I don't think this thing was thought through really well. I think it was clearly rushed. And I think it was in the best interest of not the citizens of Baltimore. And it was a slap in the face associated with what voters went out and voted for last November.
The council president says he wants to know what the consultant found while studying the conduit and what's next for the city's own employees tasked with working on the conduit itself.
This decision is going to affect generations. That's obvious, right? We know that the Department of Transportation Conduit Division is going to be decimated.
Now, Mosby says he remains hopeful that Attorney General Anthony Brown will offer an opinion, especially when it comes to looking at the BOE rules and whether this contract could have been approved in the first place. The mayor maintains he did not break any rules, and so far the AG hasn't said anything. Live in the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Well, a judge has decided the fate of A. Scott Bolden, the former lead attorney for Marilyn Mosby. He was facing criminal contempt for comments he made while representing the former city state's attorney. Bolden was admonished in court today, but he was not found in criminal contempt. Last month, all 6 attorneys for the former city state's attorney stepped down. Marilyn Mosby is expected to stand trial on 4 federal charges this summer.
Fox 45 is tracking a weather maker tonight on the right side of your screen. A live look at Towson and the Inner Harbor on the left side. It's kind of a time lapse that we're showing you right now. That weather really changing rapidly today. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers is here to tell us what's still ahead on this roller coaster week, Jonathan.
Yeah, you bet. Some good quick blasts of rain and wind, even a thunderstorm rolling by the airport this afternoon. Even had a severe thunderstorm warning for a time across here. And now that has moved east, but let's take a look at what's going on the HD radar right now. You've got, again, some wind advisories that have been expired across the area. Now we zoom out, you can see the western half of the country. That's where the winter weather is. Lots of it, but it is not coming here. It is going to get a little bit colder for tomorrow, though. The winds have changed, have moved in, but the wind advisories have been dropped early. Winds at about 10 to 15, gusts up to about 25, give or take. So that's better than what was forecasted. But still, the wind gusts will be up to about 35, 40 miles an hour next couple of hours. So make sure you hold on to your hats, 2 hands on the steering wheels, especially on the area bridges. Some of the garbage cans could go flying this afternoon into this evening. And then look at this. By about 10, 11 o'clock tonight, the winds die down and the temperatures are going to begin to chill out. Look at tomorrow. Highs only in the 40s. A couple of showers around, kind of a damp and chilly day. I'll let you know when temperatures could approach 80 degrees. How close we're going to get in a couple of minutes.
The new state treasurer demanding answers from Maryland 529, the latest on the fight for lost college savings.
And should a teacher physically stop a school fight? The new bill in Annapolis that could give them the right to interfere.
A new coach at the head of the Ravens offense, how the organization officially welcomed Todd Monken and the hopes they have for the team next year.
Well, the Baltimore Ravens have a new offensive coordinator.
That's right. Morgan Atzett's live in Owings Mills with today's big announcement. Morgan?
Hey guys, yeah, today the Ravens formally introduced new offensive coordinator Todd Monken. John Harbaugh did the honors. It's the 7th offensive coordinator he's hired. Harbaugh didn't take any questions, though. He left all the fielding of questions to Monken. Monken got the job last Tuesday. He's been in town on the job for 6 days. He was one of 21 candidates, one of 14 that got down to the intense final rounds for the hiring. The Ravens cited Monken's strengths of a balanced offense and one he builds around the talent on his roster as the reason why he got the job. And Monken says he chose to leave Georgia for the Ravens because he wanted to be back in the NFL. He was OC with Tampa Bay and Cleveland. And he also did not want to come to the Ravens for any particular player on the roster. He wanted to come for the organization's roster from top to bottom.
I want to be someplace where structure, organization, great on defense from top to bottom. And everywhere I talked to, and everybody I talked to, said, you want to be a Baltimore Raven. You want to be a part of that organization moving forward.
The back-to-back national champion at Georgia, Monken, getting a healthy dose of questioning today. Included in it, will the new Ravens offense under him have Lamar Jackson at starting quarterback? Monken avoided most questions about Jackson's contract status with the Ravens, but he did add Jackson is, quote, an elite talent, one he has never coached before, and he also added he is underrated as a passer in the NFL. Monken did say, though, he has had no contact with Lamar Jackson or any player on the Ravens roster. Again, he was hired last week. Monken added if Jackson arrives late, say midsummer for training camp, would he be behind? He said yes, but added it is just football. They will cater to what he knows. Now, as far as that contract status, the Ravens have until summer to reach that long-term deal. But there's a twist. The franchise tag window is open. The Ravens need to make that move, and they have 2 weeks to do so. Reporting live in Owings Mills, I'm Morgan Atzett for Sports Unlimited.
Next weather maker, well, it's actually moving through now as we speak. Had some wind advisories. Those have been dropped early. They were supposed to drop at about 7 o'clock. They've been taken down in the past just a few minutes. And that's after some rain, even some thunderstorms coming through. There was even a tornado warning with some of that around Trenton, New Jersey. But outside of that little batch of rain, you got to go pretty far west to get into anything else, and that stuff is snow and ice, blizzard conditions, and we could have winter storm conditions, winter storm warnings all the way down to the Mexican border in California in the highest elevations. So I guess it could be worse, that's for sure. Temperatures in the 60s this afternoon, winds now at about 10 to 15. Even 20 miles an hour sustained at times, but the gusts not as bad as they were. They did briefly get up to about 40 miles an hour here in Baltimore. They're now at 23, 29 at Gaithersburg. But do watch out. There could be a couple of garbage cans in the street and that type of thing. 78 as we head into Thursday. Tomorrow's going to be a cooler day, but Thursday's the next thing to watch as we could threaten record highs. That's a record, that 78, that stands since 1874. So shorts and short sleeves may be out. And if we make a run at 80, I believe we have hit 80 before. It was on the 25th of the month. So that would be the earliest in the month and the earliest really in the calendar year that we would have hit 80 degrees. But again, that's not in the forecast, but it is certainly something to watch. 60 degrees right now on the Toyota Asian Harbor Skycam. Good look there with winds out of the west-northwest at 11 miles an hour. Roads are drying out. Temperatures all in the 50s to right around 60. A little recovery after the rain coming through. Temperatures off to the north are dropping off about 5 to 15 degrees over 24 hours ago. The warmer air down to our south, so you're going to need a scorecard to keep track of these temperatures. We've got a cold front rolling through now. That's going to take care of the milder air by tomorrow as the showers move east. Colder air at least briefly moves in, but then we get back in it again by the time we hit Thursday. So overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, you see some of the clouds increasing once again. Temperatures fall to the 30s into tomorrow morning. There could be a sprinkle. Best chance of rain, I think, comes midday and into the afternoon. Warm front rolling back through as this cold front kind of turns on its heels and heads back to the north. And look at this. We start in the 40s. And then already by about lunchtime on Thursday, we're at about 70 degrees here in Baltimore. So we tack on a few more by Thursday afternoon. I'm forecasting a record high temperature there, tied at 78, 51 on Friday. Much cooler. You could even see a rain or snow shower as the weather maker moves down to our south on Saturday. That's one to watch with high temperatures at 41. Doesn't look very moisture charged at this point. And then we warm it up, cool it down, warm it up again into early next week.
Jonathan, thank you. All underage kids first charged as juveniles, regardless of the accused crime. The debate over the new juvenile justice legislation in Annapolis.
Should able-bodied Americans be required to work to receive government benefits? I'm Christine Frizzell on Capitol Hill, where some are pushing for stricter measures to cut costs.
During the pandemic, those who qualified for SNAP benefits received even more than usual in what was called an emergency allotment. But with the end of the public health emergency, additional benefits are ending as well. Christine Frizzell has the details.
For those who rely on SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, the emergency allotment of at least $95 additional a month per household was a game changer.
Used to be you couldn't barely fill a bag for $50. Now if you walk out spend $100, you still ain't got that much.
But those additional dollars were meant to be a lifeline during the pandemic. The public health emergency now winding down, which means the emergency allotment will expire at the end of the month.
It's going to be hard. The only thing I can say is it's going to be hard, not just for me, but for a whole lot of people.
The return to the pre-pandemic system also means bringing back the work requirement that those between 18 and 50 years old who are physically and mentally fit, who want to receive SNAP benefits for more than 3 months, must have a job or be in a work training program for at least 20 hours per week.
When we have 7 million able-bodied men between the ages of 25 and 45 that aren't working, potentially qualifying for SNAP benefits, it just doesn't seem fair.
Some GOP lawmakers want to restrict the use of waivers and implement more wide-ranging work requirements. A letter to President Biden writing, breaking this poverty trap will help future generations avoid welfare programs altogether. Others pointing to the employment situation as another factor for the needed changes, with more jobs than people looking to fill them. And the Congressional Budget Office estimate that the price tag for SNAP would increase by $93 billion over the next 10 years.
We also have an obligation to ensure that these federal funds are not abused and that they're not taken advantage of.
This battle is setting the stage for what is expected to be a contentious war over government spending. That includes the reauthorization of the Farm Bill, which SNAP is a part of, and also raising the debt limit, which Republicans say they want to be accompanied by major cuts to the federal budget. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzau.
A new bill could change how the criminal justice system handles youth offenders. Talking with a Democrat and Republican representative about how to address juvenile crime. Maryland's new treasurer says the governor is angry, parents are angry, and lawmakers are angry. The latest on growing frustration with Maryland's 529 plan ahead of a hearing in Annapolis tomorrow. In a joint session of the Maryland General Assembly this afternoon, Derek Davis was sworn in as state treasurer for a full 4-year term.
And in his election speech, Davis pledged to be a guardian of taxpayer dollars, including money Maryland families invested in the state's embattled college trust.
Our citizens are angry. Our legislators are angry. The governor is angry. And the 529 program is under siege.
Rebecca Pryor has been following this story closely. She joins us live with Davis's promise to make families whole. Rebecca.
Yes, thousands of state college funds remain frozen. Treasurer Davis is vowing to fight for Maryland families. As we already know, Maryland 529 has been under scrutiny for well over a year now following an alleged interest calculation error. That error causing the agency to block parents from accessing all of the money in their accounts and ultimately slashing many of their savings by tens of thousands of dollars. It's resulted in many of them taking out unforeseen loans and racking up debt with tuition payments still due. Treasurer Davis addressing the issue head on in his election speech today, saying enough is enough.
I'm not promising to be nice about it, and I'm not promising to be polite about it. We've tried that. We've tried that for 18 months, and it hasn't worked. And now it's time to do what needs to be done. Our parents, and more importantly, our children deserve better, and they're going to get better.
And Davis isn't the only one speaking out today. I also spoke with Kirk Littman. He is a Maryland 529 account holder. He is a parent, and just take a look at what he did. Kirk is taking his frustrations to the freeway. He's plastered these posters on digital billboards all across Baltimore, including the Beltway and 895. The message: demands Maryland 529 free their interest now. A message that Kirk also placed on these T-shirts and a new radio ad that will start running on several local stations this week. Take a listen. Here's a quick clip.
Are they paying that?
No, they're not.
But they promised.
Yes, they did.
If you are one of the 27,000 Maryland prepaid college trust policyholders, it's time to act.
And Kirk is also prepared to make his voice heard in front of lawmakers tomorrow. Him and other parents, they have been granted unlimited testimony during tomorrow's legislative session, and dozens have already signed up to speak. Reporting live in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Youth crime is one of the top issues facing lawmakers in Annapolis during the legislative session. Controversial new Juvenile Services Secretary Vincent Schiraldi, as we mentioned to you, has been confirmed in a party line vote, as the Senate and House continue to debate a bill that could significantly change how the state punishes minors. If the Youth Equity Act passes, all cases involving offenders under the age of 18 will begin in juvenile court, regardless of the offense. Fox 45's Tom Rogers spoke with the bill's sponsor and a lawmaker saying it's not the right move with the current surge in youth violence.
A new bill is introduced in the Maryland General Assembly looking to change the way we process and judge juveniles' actions, including murder. It's called Youth Equity Act. We got a glimpse into the differing opinions in Annapolis on how to handle violent juvenile offenders when we asked Delegate Lauren Aricon and the bill's sponsor, State Senator Jill Carter.
Out of that number of children automatically charged as adults, 90% of them have their cases either transferred back to juvenile court or adjudicated in the adult system, and they're wound up not guilty. So many times they're back on the street. So frankly, this bill is more of a public safety measure than the current law. And I want to just explain. Nothing in the bill precludes a state's attorney from being able to waive a child up.
We have a skyrocketing juvenile crime situation, and frankly, as soon as the street finds out that they can use kids even more to commit their crimes, they're just going to put more pressure on children to be participating in criminal activity, because they'll be able to tell the kids, don't worry, you're just going to go to juvie for a few months. That's scary to me.
Now, Senator Carter argues her bill opens up many rights and services for the child in the juvenile system than if they were automatically charged as an adult and then sent through the adult prison system. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
As lawmakers in Annapolis battle over juvenile justice reform, the Baltimore Police Department is still struggling with staffing shortages. The problem only getting worse, with the department losing 170 police officers last year. Law enforcement expert Maury Richards says while the department desperately needs more officers, it's critical not to lower standards in order to fill the positions.
There are certain red flags. Criminal history, character defects, lack of a, solid work record, things like this. And what Memphis did was ignore those things. Like I said, red flags that normally would disqualify someone.
Richard says Tyree Nichols' death is the latest example of what happens when a department lowers its standards. He believes the Memphis Police Department hired unqualified officers, leading not only to Nichols' death, but also damaging the public's relationship with police.
The county's under pressure. A former Baltimore teacher accused of sex abuse and rape will be released from jail as he awaits trial. In court today, a Baltimore County Circuit Court judge ruled in favor of Chris Benden. Benden was fired earlier this year from the Gilman School and arrested 3 weeks ago. He's accused of sexually abusing a teen. Benden maintains he's innocent. A preliminary hearing is set for next Friday.
In Carroll County, fire investigators are looking into what caused two deadly fires just hours apart. On Sunday, firefighters responded to the Boston Inn in Westminster just after 8:30 this morning. They arrived to the fire that had been put out and found the body of a 48-year-old man inside. Investigators say they believe the fire had occurred several hours before they were notified. The cause of death is now under investigation. And a few hours after that, a fire broke out in a home in Taneytown. When firefighters arrived, a mother and her daughter had been able to escape, but the grandmother was still trapped inside. The 68-year-old woman was rescued, but later died at the hospital.
A cyclist killed in a Baltimore County crash last night. It happened on Reisterstown Road in the Baltimore Beltway, which is Pikesville, according to Baltimore County Police, just after 10 o'clock. The 22-year-old biker, Chaim Cohen, was hit from behind by a Dodge Charger. The driver of that car did stay at the scene until police arrived. The cause is under investigation.
Baltimore County Police launching a public safety campaign for Hyundai and Kia owners. There has been a nationwide increase in the number of those cars targeted by thieves due to a failure in their anti-theft software. The county initiative includes a steering wheel lock giveaway and assistance for owners installing an update to improve the vehicle's threat protection. The Baltimore County effort comes just days after an attempted theft in Anne Arundel County. Two 13-year-olds were arrested and charged with trying to steal a Kia. For more information on the program, hoping to keep your car safe, head to foxbaltimore.com.
In crisis in the classroom coverage, a new bill could provide Maryland educators better legal protection when it comes to intervening in and preventing school fights. Kelly Lynn from our Sinclair sister station in Washington, D.C. has more.
A 14-year-old boy suffers a fractured skull in a fight 4 years ago at Magruder High in Durwood. It's an example of the kind of violence educators witness inside schools. But should they get involved?
I often have to tell teachers the sad truth that if they observe a fight, that they are not protected if they try to intervene. Therefore, they shouldn't get involved because they will have no legal protections.
The issue is before the Maryland General Assembly. House Bill 137 seeks to protect teachers who intervene in fights from liability related to property damage or personal injury.
What this bill does is it provides a very narrow immunity for teachers, administrators, school staff members who are acting in good faith.
Republican State Delegate Robin Grammer Jr. sponsored the legislation.
What does the current law state right now?
There's no protection at all, really. Current law states that if there is some kind of case, the boards of education will have to represent teachers.
7 News reached out to teachers groups to find out what they think of the legislation and received this response from the Montgomery County Education Association. Schools must be safe working and learning environments. Neither educators nor students should be put in harm's way or forced to confront violence in the course of the school day. We educators are calling for the resources and systems needed to promote safety, trust, and mutual care for all. At a recent hearing, Maryland teacher Franca Muller-Paz told lawmakers educators need broader support.
I could not live with myself if I stood by and watched young people violently hurt each other and did nothing.
For 7 News, I'm Kelly Lynn.
Well, new tonight, millions of dollars now being put towards improving the Enoch Pratt Free Library in Baltimore. Mayor Brandon Scott and library employees come together to announce an $11 million investment. Enoch Pratt leaders say the funds will be used to help bridge the digital divide.
Every week, thousands of people turn to the Pratt as their primary source of technology for devices and free internet. But the institutional computer banks that you see sitting here behind me and outdated classrooms force customers to sit shoulder to shoulder with no privacy. We believe strongly that this setup creates a second-class digital citizenship.
Well, the money will go toward renovations, improving community access to Wi-Fi, and expanding tech education. The entire $11 million investment is coming from the American Rescue Plan funds. Cracking down on the rail industry, the new promise from Pete Buttigieg after the train derailment in Ohio.
I'm Atrell Nashar in Washington, and coming up, details of a Supreme Court case that could change the internet as we know it.
And rain is moving out, chillier air moving in for now, but it's not going to last long. I'll let you know when we could be threatening record highs, maybe even 80 degrees around here, and when there could be some snow in the forecast. Yes, both of those all in the next 7 days. My Weather Authority forecast.